All right, it's 7 o'clock. And are we recording? Thumbs up. All right, perfect. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. We will start with the board norms. Norms are to maintain our focus, communicate respectfully, be present, keep the board productive and effective, and respect the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Do we have anything? No? Okay. Moving on to correspondence. Bill, do you want to run through those? I think mostly of the same nature.
So the board received one letter that all the board members have last night, I guess. It's dated the 19th. And the chair of the long-term, Drew and Al and I received, but not to the board, a letter from a constituent in Brookline, Newfane? Do you remember, Al?
Williamsville, I think. Well, one of them was Williamsville.
And so I will include this letter in the meeting minutes. I don't, do you want to just summarize it? I mean, I'll include the whole thing in the minutes.
Yeah, I think she had some concerns about whether we were following Common Core. In essence, saying that she hadn't heard enough over the last couple of meetings, after listening to the last couple of meetings, in regards to things such as outdoor spaces. Yeah, I guess I would suggest everybody to read the letter. It's about it's a page-and-a-half letter. But she does urge the school board to do the following things: have the committee provide specific concrete evidence on facilities feasibility, grade band groupings, and immersive learning models before making any decision to move forward. Look at not just the proposal put forward, but to look at a few options. Include community stakeholders in the long-range plan committee. And of course, what I would say to this is maybe there's possibly a misunderstanding of what point we're actually in the process. Everything that the long-term planning committee has done is to kind of bring something, an idea to the table that can be, as we will look at later on tonight, to be fleshed out with all of that additional information that she's outlining here and that we heard elsewhere as well. So yeah, I think it possibly a misunderstanding of where we are at in the process. We will definitely, if approved tonight, have a very rigorous process in which we review everything, the finances, everything that's outlined here in terms of outdoor spaces, banding, etc. And there will be community outreach. So that will all happen, just not yet, I think is maybe what's not been heard here. But she'll hear it tonight, hopefully. All right, I think that's it. The other letter was similar in tone in terms of kind of where we're at in terms of the long-term planning process. And again, we will flesh it out and continue to grow and build with the decision of the board tonight. Did I miss anything, Bill?
No, I think the letter only went to me and you and Drew, but I think it was meant for the board. Is the board comfortable with me reaching out to the individual and asking if I can share it?
Great.
I think we all got it included in the email because
There was another one.
Another one.
it's the same one.
One from Brookline, not from Fiona.
There's a second email.
There's a second email, but it wasn't addressed to the board.
Not from this person.
It was sent to the board chair, the long-term planning committee chair, and the superintendent. I want to get permission from her to be able to send it to all of you.
Okay, I could have sworn I got this one in an email.
You
Yeah,
did.
not that letter, you did get that email.
You did.
This one, yeah.
You got that one, there's another one that didn't go to everybody.
Okay,
Okay, I will do that.
Perfect. Great.
okay.
Okay, members of the public, if there's anything that you do not see on the agenda and you'd like to speak to it now, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll wait till we get to that agenda item and discuss it at that point. And yes, sorry, if there's any hands behind me, please let me know. Oh, there's that Scotty, you know, Scotty with his, I got my hand up. All right, seeing none, let's move on to student reports.
So, as you guys move your student reports, I just want to introduce a new member who you haven't seen, probably you may have seen her in the Zoom box, but this is Ruth Wright, who's a junior here at Late Women Gray. And I think online she's joined by our other student member, Ansley Henderson. Yep, I see her down the bottom there. So those are our two members. This year, Ansley, of course, is in year 2. Ruth will be in her first year, a 2-year term. We had a third member that you guys had approved, but the student is no longer interested, so we're down back to our original 2. So I'll let her speak, or if you guys, she and I have talked a little bit about wanting to know what information you guys might want from the students, that they can come prepared with some information if they knew what you were looking for specifically. But I think mostly they just want to engage in conversation as topics come up.
Yeah, and you know, the pulse of this school. You're just starting out the year, and I want to hear a little bit, unless anybody else has any other ideas or suggestions as to what we want to hear. Anybody? No? Did you have anything prepared, Ruth, or?
Not
anything?
really.
No?
How does the school year seem to have been, how do you feel like, has it been a good start, or?
Yeah, it definitely has. It's going back 5 days a week is different because we were so used to having that Wednesday to have that time and like doing other work. I know I caught up on a lot of work during that Wednesday, so it's a lot of time that I didn't realize I didn't have as much of.
Good.
Great.
Thanks.
In general?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
You want to ask her, Ansley?
Oh, Ainsley? Ainsley, do you have anything to add?
Can you guys hear me?
Sure.
What can we?
Okay, good. I mean, not much. I mean, it's really, really great to be back. I think I agree with Ruthie. I did not realize I had such little time in my life, but it is really great to be back, and we should be back 5 days a week. So that's really great. You know, wearing masks is wearing masks, but I mean, we're all getting through it and encouraging each other to do the right thing. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Thanks, Ainsley. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to new business. So the long-term planning committee update, if you want to give us your update, and we will, as it says here, make a decision on whether or not to move forward with the long-term planning concept.
Excellent. So, I guess that's me.
Yeah.
You guys can jump in. Okay. So, we've taken the opportunity between the last meeting and this meeting to visit both of the campuses or buildings on the kind of central campus that we're looking at. Touring to see, what space, what kind of physical plant resources we had available. So we were able to determine that we do believe that there is space for what we were originally proposing, looking at some of the questions that were asked and kind of revisiting some of the thoughts that we were putting forward, and I'll let others kind of speak to where we're at with that. But we're still feeling pretty confident that this is a worthwhile proposal to kind of move forward and kind of get a deeper exploration of. So we would ask that as the meeting goes on, at whatever point you're going to entertain the motion, is that the long-term planning committee is looking to move forward with greater detail and public engagement on the project. And I'll let them know what we've come up with.
So I mean, you know what the general proposal is. Like Drew said, we have thoroughly explored the facilities in this central campus area, and definitely there's a lot of room to rearrange. So we understand that where we are now, the buildings are currently being utilized to their maximum potential, and that's wonderful, as they should be. Also, that doesn't mean there isn't room to make more things happen. As Bob has said many times, and when we were students here, there were many more students, and these facilities worked well for that. So having seen what is available and looked at how things have previously been used and discussing how things could be reworked a little bit, there's lots of available space for all of the things. And keeping in mind with a one campus model that everything is everybody's, because we are one campus. And there's lots of opportunity to even have more available space because of that.
We just got to be smart about how we use our space. You know, we might have to bring in a consultant or something to figure out how best to do this. In this very room that we're in could be better organized. I mean, our library is not as big as it once was because of computers and stuff. We don't need encyclopedias. We don't need references. We've kind of downsized our library in essence. And we got this big wide open space. So we could just learn to utilize it. I don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers, but we could get a hold of people who do. We just need a place to start.
And I mean, as we had said before, obviously we don't have specifics regarding financials, but we have discussed it loosely with Laurie and Bill, and not having the ability to get into specifics yet, we do feel pretty comfortable with the ability to make this happen. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't done the deep dive, but we did just, try to imagine creating the one campus concept. How would it look operationally? I think there's two separate things. There's kind of what Dana was talking about is kind of one-time costs of build-out, and then there's the ongoing operation. And until we flesh it all out, I won't guarantee anything. But I think at first glance, operationally, I think you are not going to exceed what you're currently doing. Exclusionary one-time costs. But I defer until we get time to actually flesh that out. But I think from the bird's eye view right now, I don't think you would be building something that exceeds what you're currently spending operationally. But I could be wrong. I could come back to you in 3 weeks and say I forgot about this. But right now, that is, I think, reasonable thought.
Okay.
So our ask is to move forward and direct our administration to get us some additional financial details for the 13th.
The dream is the 13th.
13th.
The reality is more likely the 20th.
Is what we're looking for, and with the intention, once we had that information, to start engaging public meetings shortly after that. We don't want to set a hard date yet because we understand it may take another week or so for the administration to be able to give us the financial information we need.
Okay.
We know the public wants the numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this would be an appropriate time to have Laurie ask some clarifying questions, as I will be leaning on her.
Oh, she's up there, hands are like flying in the air.
Her hands up.
Definitely, Laurie, certainly want to get to you, but I want to make sure that, I think we're all kind of having this conversation as though everybody knows the plan, right? Just want to be understanding that maybe some people might be joining this meeting for the first time and may have been told by their neighbor, hey, you might want to check out this meeting. Maybe if we just get like a abbreviated 5 minutes abridged version of kind of what the plan is, just before we get into that.
So the big plan, the kind of the win that we're looking for is to create an amazing, life-changing educational experience for every one of our students. That is our overall goal. We know that we have programs, we've created programs, and we've managed programs in our district that have created these life-changing experiences for our students. We want to make sure that's available to every student in our district. We also know that we have a declining student enrollment, and we've been faced with significant challenges and the ability to continue ongoing programming. So after a fair amount of research and a lot of discussion and planning, with help of the administration, the concept of a single campus is where we've landed. And what that does for us as a district is it allows the students to benefit from teacher collaboration. It allows the students to benefit from different class groups. So maybe being able to have more than one or two people, one or two friends in the same grade, but larger student cohorts, and other academic and social emotional advantages. It is going to, in the long term, likely help to kind of stabilize our financial situation. And one of the most exciting components that it's going to allow us to do is to create a immersive learning center where we can create these amazing educational experiences for our kids. By going to a central campus model and utilizing some of our additional real estate to run programs that allow the students to be fully engaged, not only by reading the material, but seeing, touching, smelling, and being completely hands-on in the environment of science, healthcare, technology, robotics, and other areas that we can explore if the board agrees to kind of move forward with the concept to get us greater details what those programs might exactly look like. A model similar to what we've used in our Journey East program, where we've been able to put students into this immersion environment where they learn about cultural studies, and we've heard from many of our students how that was a life-changing experience. So we want that for every student, and we want to make sure that we have enough opportunities that we meet the interests of each of our students. So that's the overall.
Also, just to clarify, because I know we've had this question quite a bit, that the Immersive Learning Center would be something that every single student is going to be able to utilize. It's not just when you're a senior, or only for the high school, or, well, only for the older, maybe the middle school and high school. Literally, every student, we would love every single student to be able to use this facility and to have these experiences and start feeling that love of exploring new things and learning new things from as early as possible.
And we're not doing away with Common Core, that ain't going anywhere, but it could expand on the Common Core and take what you learn in the grade school or in the high school or in the middle school and expand it out and take it one step further than any other high school or middle school or grade school has done. It could go to places that we haven't seen yet, so you just gotta take a step forward.
Is that helpful?
That was super helpful, very concise, 5-minute overview of all the benefits, and truly telling us what makes this plan differentiate us and show off what we could potentially do. So, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Laurie's still waving at us, wondering
Hi,
what
Laurie.
else we to do.
So I just need some parameters, I guess. Are you really looking for a fiscal year 23 budget with these changes put into the operational budget?
So the answer is we don't need a necessarily a line by line detail of every expense. What we're really looking at is more, in this early phase, more of a conceptual overview of the financial. And, earlier we were discussing, what does that really look like? And what we're trying to determine is what would the estimated costs be? What would those one-time estimated costs be? So if we needed to make a building change or a modification in order to allow the program. And then what would the overall operation, not getting down to the detail of, which salary stays, which salary goes, which salary is repurposed, but more what the overall program looks like. I don't think it is a worthwhile experience for us right now to build a program to that detail because we haven't taken our public comment, we haven't really engaged in it yet, but we want to have enough information that we can have a good discussion, if that makes sense.
And do you want this down to the tax rate? In which case, you really are talking about, almost a full budget, because there are things that we've discussed, that the board has discussed, investing in Journey East, for example, that's going to be an increase to the budget. So putting money into the buildings generally, not just, to build them out for this purpose. So I'm just want to be clear on our parameters, because if you are looking for a tax rate, then we do need to think about all those different things.
So, I think, to clarify, I think what the long-term planning committee is hoping to provide to the board and the community is if we ran the system we're running now, next year, in general, what are the assumptions, the contractual assumptions that we make?
Sure.
So if we spend $12 million now, and we know that on our regular annual assumptions, I feel like I'm talking to you here, but I can talk to you there. On our annual assumptions, okay, what are the contracts say? What does that look like? And I think maybe what you just mentioned is just a line, right? It says, if board agrees to the Journey East proposal, it would be X, and if we did all the recommendations of the keeping the building up to prepared for students, it would be X. But we would do that no matter what. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I just wanted to make sure that that was what the long-term planning committee was looking for, is to get us to a tax rate versus this year's tax rate.
Yes.
Because all of those things, whether it's in detail or summary, produce an overage or underage of the current budget, right? So that's what I'm trying to get to understand, is that where they want to go at this point?
I guess, yeah.
I believe that's where they want to go.
Okay.
But we don't
All right.
necessarily want to see your work getting there.
Yeah.
Right. No, I hear you. You want it very high level, and I understand that piece of it. But I also need to understand that we are getting to a tax rate, year-over-year tax rate.
Yes.
Got it.
We don't want to not include all the upkeep of the building. We don't want to not include the possibility that at budget time that Journey East will have an investment. We don't want to not include those things, because that would be, if we did nothing, that would be the operational discussion we'd have at budget time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to make sure that we're giving the public and the board as transparent a look at if we changed nothing and if we did this. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
Okay. Before I go to Greg, or allow Al to go to Greg, let the 20th, is that reasonable?
Yeah, for a very high level that hasn't been tweaked, yes,
Okay,
I can do that.
all right. Then I'm going to suggest we move the meeting to the 25th.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you, Laurie. You have a hand from Greg.
Go ahead, Greg.
I'm just wondering, are you, Drew and your committee, are you looking for a build out of areas in this? Or even an estimated what it would take to build those out? As far as say, like, I know there was some talk about doing the underside there of towns.
So there's going to be some, like we've discussed, outdoor space and utilization of outdoor space and what it would be required in order for us to make the outdoor space in each or on our central campus what we want it to be. So we would be looking to get some estimates as to what those one-time costs would be. There is probably some discussion about changing maybe what some of the inside space looks like, moving a wall or adding a door, but we're not talking about a building construction project.
Correct.
But yes, there would be some, I guess, light renovation discussion that we'd be looking to get.
Fair enough. And what is your timeline, right, from if all this right goes forward this year, what would your transition timeline look like for the other district buildings of what you would of basically building those into your immersive learning? What would your timeline like that look like for something like those? I'm just thinking of, like, if I'm thinking about one-time costs or whatnot, you know, right, you need to account for, okay, if we said it would be a 2 or 3 year, well, we've got to make sure we at least account for keeping electricity on and heat on for a couple of years, you know what I mean, in those spaces while we would begin to transition that minimally. So that would be something we would want to account for, right? If we said, okay, this year we moved out of Newbrook and Jamaica, say, right, you know, or just Jamaica, right? We would still have to run some oil there and whatnot, so.
All of our facilities will be maintained and continue to be used going forward.
Okay. Okay.
We're not mothballing any of our facilities. At least not in our current plan.
You have another question too?
Correct.
Craig,
Hi, go ahead, Greg.
That was all I had, thank you.
Oh, thanks, Greg.
Right. I just want to make sure, because I know, and some of the people in that room know, you guys are talking about a central location or a central campus. Can you explain to the public further what that means to you guys? Because you haven't really got into it. Again, if this was their first time coming, grade levels being moved, Townsend being adjusted. So I wonder if you could just inform everybody.
So our one campus model that we're looking at the moment has a K through 4 in the current Townsend Elementary building and a 5 through 8 middle school in the Leland and Gray building, a 9 through 12 high school in the Leland and Gray building. We're discussing a potential of a pre-K on either end, so that one of the biggest concerns we had heard was that the concern of long travel distances for the youngest children, and we hear that. And that seemed like a good solution. Again, all of these things that we're saying now may possibly change with public discussion. But we need to get to the point where we have enough information to have a real solid discussion with the public and everybody. And, you know, we reserve the right to be swayed.
Great.
Is that good?
Is that good? Thanks, Craig. Just let me know if anybody.
It's hard when their hands are behind you.
Yeah. Very tough.
I'll monitor for you.
All right, thank you. Okay, are we ready to entertain a motion?
Yeah,
Do we
I'll
need to make a
right
motion?
now.
Do
All
we
right.
even, I guess, make your motion.
We can have discussion.
I'm ready to make the motion to take the plunge. I mean, let's agree that this is a path that we like, and spend the time and energy and resources to flesh this out so that we can discuss it. Like right now, it's a concept and it's way too vague and nobody's gonna jump behind it and tell how much is that gonna cost and what's that really gonna mean? Well, let's get those answers, and then move forward with it. So whatever that motion needs to say, let's do it.
Essentially, you're just directing the work of your, the West River administrators, central office, to take the concept and flesh it out so that the board and the community can react to it and see if this is a sustainable path for the West River District to go forward.
But does that even require a motion to be made? Isn't that the path we're already on? That's my only thing, like,
Right.
we're already doing that, and we have another meeting where we'll get those details.
I suggested the motion simply because I think the long-term planning committee has been very respectful of time and energy and resources on.
Oh, they've done a ton of work,
on
for sure.
on other people.
Oh, okay.
And so they wanted to be clear that, it's the board's authority to direct me and the administrators to go do this work. They've brought us to this point.
Oh,
But they
versus
wanted to
them.
make sure that the board.
Well, I'll make
Yeah.
that motion,
You know
and we
what I mean?
direct you to get the work done.
That's a different motion, isn't
So
it?
And just to clarify, what we did not want to do is ask our administration to go to the level of deep detail on 7 different proposals. We wanted to make sure that we were close enough to something we thought that might work so that this isn't an exercise for no good reason.
Yeah.
That's really why we wanted to come to the board and it's like, it's a lot of work to put a budget together and give us some decent numbers. And, though they've been very helpful and we've asked them for a lot, this is a big ask. So if you guys are going, hey, we want no part of this, then let's not ask our administration to go through it. But if we're thinking that this is a good general direction, it's time that we ask them to do some more work. And I would also suggest that, we've kind of done what we were tasked to do. We're willing to take on the next chunk and, dig into some greater details and work with Greg on the costs and the administration on the footprints and, the public comment and stuff.
Yeah, we want to hear from the community. I mean, we're not, if they don't buy in, then.
That's right. All right, so
But
did we
if-
get that motion?
But, so like, the work's gonna get done anyway at this point, right? Like, so I mean, like, I'm completely okay either way, because we need to know the answers to fairly evaluate the proposal. So, I mean, if you want a motion to direct you, I guess that's fine, but I think.
Yeah, you're not voting yay or nay.
No, right, it's not anything to do with the proposal, it's directing you
It's
to
just
do,
a very,
to flesh it out.
I appreciate it as
Formal
a,
direction.
Yeah,
they are not overstepping their bounds
Right.
as a subcommittee
Right.
to direct an enormous amount of work. They have asked us for
Mhm.
things that were
No,
very
that's,
reasonable.
and that's on
But
point.
this is a big ask.
Yeah,
And so, when we talked, I was like, we really need the whole board to be like, yes, go do this work, because it's work.
Well, and the second, what you had just said, in addition to that though, this is, in addition to getting the motion on there to direct this work and to go forward with this, it is then the board saying, we also think this is a good idea and we should have this work done versus,
Exactly.
the work getting done anyway, getting done and everybody saying, well, I don't know.
But
You know,
is
it's like,
it
we're
that,
agreeing
though?
that it's good now.
is it that though, or is it that we're saying it at least is warrants, appropriate further consideration? Because that's what I took from it. I don't think it's necessarily a blessing on, hey, we're feeling like we're 80% there, so let's run the numbers. I think it's like, let's do the appropriate, work to find out.
So if this is a concept that you are not okay with, then we want to know now.
Yeah.
So that we don't go through a whole lot of work for, getting there. That's really kind of, I guess, the simplest way of putting it.
Right. No,
If you're looking at this going, this is not happening here, then
We want to know right now, please.
Well,
Please
It's
tell
not,
me
it's
right
not,
now.
it's not up to the board, it's not up to the board, right? Really, it's up to the public, And, you know, they need this information, so like us, that they can fairly evaluate. I mean, sounds great, you know, but I have real concerns if it can be done at.
And that's what we're asking,
at
what
where
level
we're
of
discussing it.
information you have now.
Definitely.
Yeah, before we jump all over the place here, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, now, discussion.
You have a hand,
Robert's
so
rules.
after the board discusses, you have a hand.
Okay. All right, Mike, did you want to elaborate? any
No, I think we
further?
clarified.
Okay. Good. Anybody else on the board?
I have a couple of concerns. I mean, even Fiona's letter here, I remember not too long ago when Common Core was, we have to get this, we need to keep these grade groups together, we gotta get the teachers all on board, we have to, and now it seems like we're actually splitting those up further. Because we're putting the fifth graders in over here, and, you know,
It breaks up the band.
it breaks up the band.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and the whole thing, I read the original bill, tidal wave that came over was all based on, well, we're gonna do this Common Core, you know, because we're doing Common Core, we want to keep this together. And now we have another concept coming in and say, well, we're gonna keep this part of it together, but we're gonna split this part up a little more, and so I have a problem with that. You know, and I'm being honest, I have a problem with everything being just right up here on these two campuses when you have a school that has been worked on to amp up its pre-K for the younger kids, and then take all that work that's been done here and bring it down to Newfane and relocate all that equipment. The play area is definitely much larger over at Newfane. Bigger kids need more space to run around. And you want to put them all over here and then on the common and then over across the street on the high school property so that they have room to run around. It's going to cut down on the time for like recess and, you know, that outdoor play that some people really enjoy. They're not going to get that time because it's going to be travel time. That's another concern of mine. That being said, the idea as a whole is good, but the fine tuning doesn't need to be, in my opinion, done in, well, how much is this gonna cost, and what's this one-time cost gonna be, and what's this one-time cost gonna be? It's gonna be, this is what we have. How do we make that work for us in the future and make it grow? It's like, if you're planting a garden, you can't keep transplanting your peppers because they're never gonna grow. You gotta plant them, you gotta fertilize them, you gotta water them, and they'll grow. But if you keep moving them around, they're not gonna grow.
All right, peppers. Okay.
That's my concern, peppers.
You have two hands after the board speaks during discussion.
Okay. Anybody else on the board? Oh, did you say somebody from the board behind you?
No.
Okay.
They're public.
Okay,
I'll keep it, I've got them in order.
got it, thank you. Anybody else? All right,
All
moving
right,
on
you can go to Fiona.
Fiona. Go ahead, Fiona.
Hello, everybody. So I have a couple things. One is a clarifying question about what exactly is are you voting on? Because, and I didn't misunderstand where you were in the process, to be clear, but what you are, the motion you're putting on the floor right now, what is on and off the table? You said you wanted one plan, but Lindsay just brought up that perhaps there will be two pre-Ks, one on either end of the district. So what exactly is on and off the table? Are you looking at facility-wise? What is the goal? You were saying that is the goal to have all of the kids in first grade in one spot? Doesn't matter how it's broken up in bands? Are you saying you want to definitely have the central campus? Like, I'm very unclear as to what exactly what you've just put on the table is gonna have in or out. And secondly, once again, you've said we've looked into it, the facilities, you've looked into it and it's all good. But you haven't given the rationale behind that. Like, we've looked into it because there's this amount of space and there's that amount of space. So it would be really helpful if you could share what information you gathered by going to the buildings. So those are my two questions.
So the proposal is the same proposal that we've been working from, which is the central campus model with an immersion learning center. What Lindsay said is we have taken some, I think we're well over 100 pieces of public comment so far, and one of the most common concerns is the location of the pre-K in the proposal. So that's something that we have discussed, and she brought it up as a discussion point, that is something we have discussed. Keeping in mind that we are looking to engage the public in the conversation. So if we were not willing to hear the comments and the concerns of the board, the public, then this proposal will fail. So if at the end of the conversation, it looks like it makes more sense to have pre-K in 2 locations, then that's certainly what I would expect the public and the board to pursue. There are still lots of unknown questions, and we can't bring the answers to those questions unless we move forward in the study and in the proposal. So the answer about the building is we revisited the central campuses. We met with the director of operation, looking at the capacities of the buildings, what they've been used for previously, what each space is currently used for, and whether there is enough space, physical space, in the structures to hold the number of students that we're talking about. What we would be engaging next is the administration in how that space would then be broken up, utilized in the model. Again, that's back to asking the board whether this is a worthwhile project to task the administration. It's not fair to Bob for us to ask him to put together a plan as to how to put 5th graders in the building if the board is not on board with it's not in favor of moving forward with this next piece of work. Because that's a lot of work for him. It's a lot of work for the administration to go through and say, what would it look like? We've looked at floor plans, we've looked at square footages, we've looked at occupant capacities. So the space mathematically works. The next step is the step where the administration would give us the plan as to how they would implement it. I think, does that answer the question that was asked?
Yeah, I think, and I don't know, specifically she wanted to know which building would house which, I think, is that what you were trying to get at, Fiona?
No, what I'm getting at is how broad is the stroke for this plan? Like, if you find out that it doesn't actually make sense for all of the 1 through 4th graders to be in Townsend, but you find that 3 through 5 could work in one building and 2 through pre-K could work in another building, are you open to that? Or are you dead set on having it just be this one campus, and then if it doesn't work, you're back to square one? I just want to know where your line is for what you're willing to entertain and not.
So we're working towards the one campus model. And certainly in the public comment, if we hear that that is not what the public wants, then we can come back to the board and say that, you know, the one campus model is not what the public is looking for. We do believe, after many months of looking at this, that the single campus is the best option for our community and for our students. So are moving forward. Our plan would be to move forward, seeking comments and solutions to making a single campus work. That is the proposal, is a one campus model.
Fiona, we're trying to get away from the siloing. You know what I mean by siloing? Meaning Newbrook community, Townsend community, Jamaica community. And Leland and Gray community. With one campus, we're bringing all of that together. Unfortunately, we cannot build one big, huge campus because we don't have land, we don't have budget. This might be only a temporary thing, 10, 15 years down the road. We might be able to build the one big campus. We're trying to bring this district together. By doing the 3 through 5 and the 1 through 2 and the 6 through 12, we're still siloing our communities. We're trying to bring it together. I understand the grade banding thing, but it's just buildings. With the one campus, 1 through 4 is 150 feet over there. 5 through 6 is 150 feet here. It's all in one area. We can make it happen. I mean, we've gone through this, Leland and Gray. We went through each room and we looked at desks. How many desks can you fit? What's the average class size? Trying to plan for the next couple of years. You know, this class might be 20. Next year it might be 14. There might have to be some adjustments year by year to make it fit, but we're going to have to do it in this one campus model. If we do it the other way, then eventually we might lose the whole district. And I don't think anybody really wants to lose the district, do we? We don't want to lose our high school. We don't want to go down that road. So, I mean, let us look into it, please. Give us a fair shake. Let us see what we can hash out. That's all we're asking.
One in the audience.
Okay, you've got the order.
You have Richard Burbridge, then audience, then back to Zoom with Lindsay and Trevor.
Richard, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm a little bit concerned about the proposal of moving the 5th grade up into Leland grade. Because a couple of years ago, it was, well, we're going to move the 6th grade up there because we need to increase the numbers at Leland and Gray. Okay, now we're going to move the 5th grade up to Leland and Gray. How many years until, oh, we need to move 4th grade up to Leland and Gray? It seems that, like, it's cascading. Like you were just talking about, oh, this class might have 20, this class might have 14. The graduating class from Leland and Gray was under 40 kids this last year. So it just seems like, how many more times are we going to be, or is the board going to be asking the public of the school district, like, hey, let's move this next grade up to Leland and Gray? And it just seems to, you know, every couple of years, you're asking, hey, let's move this next grade up. And it's just a little worrisome from my point of view as a parent of like, all right, so I've got a kid in pre-K, well, in 6 years, when he's in 4th grade, are you going to be asking to move him up to Leland and Gray? So, I mean, I just, looking at the number of students in the district, and I know we as a school district don't want to lose the high school, but at some point, the budget and the cost of having the high school doesn't justify the number of students in the high school. And I'm concerned that the board is not really seeing the forest from the trees. So, thanks.
Thank you. And did you say,
You got public, then you have Lindsay and Trevor, and then you have Renee, who needs to learn how to hit the button so that the hand goes up.
we have two in the public. Who was first?
My concern is really, let me right. I understand that we have the physical room for all those students, but I don't think, but I feel like we're looking at, yes, the school holds like 400 kids or whatever it was meant for. When I went here, my graduating class was like 48. Now I think there's like 35 in my daughter's graduating class, or in her junior class. But the problem is that you still need to offer the classes. So just because you now have, you used to have 20 kids in a class, now you have 12 kids in a class, you still have to offer those classes. So the classrooms are gonna be, there's less kids in them, but you still need to have the same number of classes. You still need the 2 English classes for that grade. And right now, the programming here is getting challenging for the kids to find classes to fill their schedules. I mean, it's an issue that a lot of students are having because there's just not enough classes. So when they're trying to pick their classes, they're getting a choice of like, your 2 choices, this that you can put into your class is ceramics and woodworking. That's it. They can't get the classes that they need because they're just not, they don't fit into their schedule anymore. So I feel like if you put more kids in here, yes, we have the physical space, but we don't have the physical space. If you understand what I'm saying.
So, we could not agree with you more.
Yeah.
And we are all about increasing the programming, which is what this proposal does. It creates opportunities for our kids, and it will increase the availability of programming to the kids. So the reason why the programs aren't existing here now has nothing to do with the size of the building or the number of classrooms. In fact, there's many spaces to teach children. It's that throughout the last years, we've been forced to reduce programming in order to maintain a reasonable tax rate. And part of the reason why we are struggling so much in this district is because of our declining student enrollment. And like you said, going from a 48-person class to a 35-person class has a significant financial effect on our district, which is why we have to look at things different than we did when we had 48 students per class. So we believe that for the same financial investment, we can offer a better program to our kids by going to a single campus model. We can offer a better program because the teachers will be able to collaborate more. We'll be able to offer a better program because we'll have less traveling between buildings. We're going to be able to offer a better program because we'll be able to shift funds into immersive learning environments that will challenge and engage our kids. What we can't do is continue doing what we're doing and expect a different result. We know, everybody that sat on this board knows that year after year, we sit here and debate what program are we going to have to cut this year in order to make the budget work. We have to stop that cycle because you're right, the kids are suffering. The kids are suffering from lack of programming. The kids are suffering from the inability to have the opportunities they have in other districts, which is why they continue to leave. This proposal is about creating opportunity for kids. And what we're asking is for the ability to continue working through this plan and to let us engage our administration in some of the hard, time-consuming work of the details based on what our research is and based on what we've discussed with the administration. We believe that there is a lot of opportunities that we can achieve by going to a single campus model. And hopefully that'll address your concerns.
Is it Bill?
Okay, you've got,
You get one more down.
go ahead, go public, and then you got Lindsay, and then Ann.
Okay.
I said this before, that Patty Dixon and I have tried to make every meeting, or almost every meeting, with this long-term committee. And I'm extremely excited about this. And we've watched them go through all sorts of different ideas. A lot won't work, but they've really come up with some good ideas. And I'm just so excited. And it's change, and so many people have a hard time with change. But this will be wonderful for these kids. And you'll end up with more kids by the time we're done with this. In 10 years, you're going to look back at this and you're going to say, oh my golly, this was wonderful. So, public, please just keep asking questions and have an open mind, and please, board, continue on with this.
Thanks, Karen.
Can I just, real quick? What we would like to do in the public engagement piece is we're looking for small discussions. We want to talk face to face with anybody that has questions about this. So we're not looking for big gymnasium sessions. So when we ask about empowering us to move forward with public discussions, we're talking about small group discussions so that we can really get like the comments and the input that we got from Karen during this process, so that everybody can understand what it is we're actually proposing.
Perfect. Great.
All right, you got Lindsay, then Renee, and then Ann.
Lindsay, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I really appreciate that invite, for the face-to-face conversations as a community member who is trying right now real hard to get more engaged. I know I've reached out to several of you. I've, found that a bit difficult, and so not necessarily reaching out, but just trying to find information. I've, listening to the last board meeting, I was able to definitely kind of paint a fuller picture of what this proposal was going to look like, but was looking for so much more information, examples of collaboration, examples of how this is going to benefit our elementary age students in a more applicable way that I can really visualize for my kids. I have a 1, a 4, and a 6-year-old. I currently do feel like I'm a part of the Townsend and the Newbrook community. I have my pre-K kiddo over at Townsend and my 6-year-old at Newbrook. And, so that I really appreciate what you all are sharing about, we need to get to this next step. We need to have this vote so we can get more detail, so we can do that like deep dive. And in my mind, I'm just feeling so much like there's a huge gap between like, yes, I get that piece of the details and getting the financials and needing to bring in consultants and, spending money to kind of get it to a certain place. But I also feel like there's this like big area in between of where you are now, at least on my end as a public member seeking information, of needing more information to just paint a fuller picture of what this really is. It's so hard to be put in a position where, you're wanting to come and voice like, do I support this? Do I not support this? And I'm like, I don't even, I'm not like, and I will ask like some specific questions now, and because the Immersive Learning Center sounds so amazing, and I could see that being an incredible thing. I have a lot of concerns and how that's going to work, and what roadblocks and challenges are there, and hearing as a committee, have you guys thought through all those things, and like, why aren't we hearing about those? Like, we know that this is going to be a challenge, we know that this is going to be, but this is how we're planning on overcoming it. And, that's the kind of the level of detail of thinking that I feel like I would need as a public member to be like, yes, I'm ready for this next stage. I have come from a history of working in the field of career development. And so this idea of providing these amazing, exciting opportunities for students to come to this physical location and dive deeper into their passions is so appealing to me. But there's a huge piece of me that's like, well, how realistic is that? If we're talking about fast growing fields, robotics, technology, the health field, all of the fields that were, I think that you've referenced, what have you all talked about as far as like year after year, how are you going to keep things current? How are you going to keep things exciting and shiny? And, shiny is not the right word, it's my own word, but this appeal to attract the public and take kids from other districts, hopefully, again, take not the right word maybe, but that's the idea, right? Growing enrollment, and I totally see that, but I can only imagine if this is something that is that like overall really appealing, really, cutting edge in a way with the type of studies that we're talking about, like the expense that comes behind not just creating those spaces, but then year after year replacing, updating, so that's a real concern of mine. I also just feel like there are so many different ways for kids to be able to tap into their passions and start practicing skills at earlier ages. And whether it's, unique internship or semester away or shadowing experiences or special workshops or, and I don't know, has that stuff been looked into, how we can be more mission oriented to allowing our kids to tap into their passions, but by doing it without the creation, maintenance cost of creating this amazing, spectacular building, which if we had all this money, but just right now hearing some of the concerns, even financial, I'm how much has that really been thought out? And if that's the right move for us. And then and hearing that as being the big pro of that's one of the main reasons why we're doing this is so we can have this immersive learning center. I'm feeling as a parent of my kids right now that, what is this doing for my elementary kids? And so I have this one mindset of who I am as a parent and selfishly what I want for my family versus trying to understand more what's going on in the larger district community, and those two things might not be aligned. But as a parent, I can say, the K through 5 and used to be K through 6 experience was so important to me. I went to Guilford Central K through 8 with a cohort and built myself up grade through grade with my students. And I know not everyone had those experiences, and people who have might not feel the same way I do, but we're a fairly young family who moved to this area 4 years ago. And I visited Newbrook and went to the teddy bear tea with my kid who was not even 3 yet. I was the only one with a little kid knocking all the books off the shelves. But that's how important it was to me. I was this is the school, this physical presence, the playground. I think the loss of having our kids move from a cohort and building up trust and building up who they are, figuring that out with the same people, the same staff, feeling there's always going to be someone there who's very tuned into my child and there as they develop under the same roof. To me, that is important. And I could go on and on about why that's important for me, but I'll just kind of leave that piece there for now. But then the other piece is this, you guys keep mentioning collaboration. There's going to be so much more collaboration. I would like to hear some concrete examples of what that actually looks like. What's going to be able to happen in this new plan that's not able to happen now. That's specifically going to benefit the elementary kids, because the Immersive Learning Center, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I heard you guys say in the last session was as a senior or 10th grade and up, that you would be able to use that maybe for a semester. Then there was a middle age group, I think 6th grade to 10th, that maybe they could use it for a week or two. And then it was pre-K to 6th grade where you guys said they'd be using it, I think, a day a month. And so I hear that, but I'm again, if all this other stuff was easy, I don't know, that, not that I wouldn't want that, but I'm is it worth it for some of the sacrifices that I see myself giving up in my family and losing Newbrook, which again, I just think is so special. And the collaboration, you guys mentioned in the last meeting, skill blocks, and being able to have more of those at a younger age, but I really don't know, but I'm assuming that doesn't apply to our younger elementary kids. So that kind of made sense to me when you guys said that, they'll be able to take a couple extra classes to tap into their passions. But I'm all right, but what's happening for these younger kids who now we're putting the bulk of the transitions, and I know you said the transition from 4th to 5th isn't going to feel like a transition because it's one campus, but it really is going to be a transition, going from one building to another, being grouped into a completely different kind of population, physical space. We can't get around that. Even that is going to be a transition for them. And the other one happening at 6 years old, these are the kids who don't have the self-development, the emotional regulation, who are apt to have a harder time with those transitions. I can definitely speak to my own kids and knowing that about them, finding comfort in their space is really important at that age. So I just don't want to ignore it a little bit because there's so much focus on the Immersive Learning Center. I know there's a lot in there. So I'll just kind of start with that for now and kind of the question of like just wanting some more concrete examples of like some of these benefits.
So,
Thanks, Lindsay.
Thank you,
Can I
sorry, I
answer
went
that
a
in a
lot.
short way?
Yeah, we will try to answer
we're-
all those questions.
We're gonna invite you to 2 coffee sessions.
Yay!
with the committee. So,
Yeah.
and just a couple, you are absolutely correct in most things that you're saying. We are looking to minimize transitions. We are looking to create community. We are absolutely confident that the welcome, warm feeling that you have in Newfane right now, you'll have on our single campus model, because they're gonna be the same amazing people providing the same amazing experiences to your kids. But without taking up many hours of time tonight, once we get to this discussion phase, I think you should sit down and have a couple of cups of coffee with that committee and really run through those ideas that you have, because what those center looks like, what immersion is for kids, is one of the areas that needs the most amount of work. How that gets integrated into the curriculum is an area that requires a lot of work. And it's one of the pieces that, as we discussed with Bill, we wanted to make sure that this is a good direction before we ask him to figure out how it fits in the curriculum. That's a big deal. So we don't have the answers to those, but it's something we want to explore.
And so, I mean, when you say you don't have answers, like you guys haven't gotten to a place of like being able to provide some more specific examples about how collaboration, like what that actually looks like. I mean, and I'm talking, for that K through pre-K through 5th.
That we can do.
That we can do, yeah, that's.
Okay, I'm hungry for information. I'm hungry for examples. Like, I don't understand how, I just feel like there's a big gap in like, someone else mentioned like, oh, the public, we need their buy-in. And I don't know if there's other people, I mean, I know there's other people out there who are feeling this way too, but I wish there was a more full picture before the board makes a vote on saying, like, yes, this is something we want to invest money in. Yes, this is something like it, to me, I feel like there's a gap between like where we are, at least what have accessible to me. That's why I'm like, where are you guys' worksheets and stuff? Like, I know you probably, that's not stuff that like we can expect to have, but like, but I want to hear more of those examples. Now.
Do you want to give examples
Do you want
of
to,
how?
I'm going to kick that down to the superintendent.
Lindsay, I can just give you a few things. We've been discussing for the last 4 years how we can have an opportunity for our students where they are not in a single grade siloed classroom. So you can imagine, I don't know what Guilford was, but you can imagine the difference that it is for a kindergarten student when there's 2 kindergarten classes right across from each other. And those teachers get to collaborate. And the first grade teachers get to collaborate. And the second grade teachers get to collaborate. And the third grade teachers get to collaborate. And you can even get to an example where you might have a group where in 3rd and 4th, you have a teacher who's really exceptional at math. And so we can figure out a way, because we're all in the same location, that teacher is teaching math to all the 3rd and 4th graders, because that is their expertise. And you might have another teacher who has great expertise in English language arts. So without having the kids and the professionals in the same location, you don't have those opportunities. You can't move around socially, the kids. They are with the same kids all the way through. And as you pointed out before, that can be highly beneficial, it can be highly detrimental, but if you don't even have the option to do it, that can be a challenge. The idea of having all your specialists be full-time in one location, the amount of integration that you can do with teachers in that environment is very different than a specialist traveling around and popping in. When you talk about academic support teachers and their specialists, the ability for them to focus on lower grades rather than a continuum. Special educators, the ability for a special educator, instead of being a generalist, they could be very specific in math, or very specific in ELA, or very specific in K1-2, as Fiona talked about with the grade bands. So it's really about creating a structure for greater opportunity for the professionals to have that ability to deliver for students what they currently don't have in the structure that we currently have.
And it's funny, you know, the siloing that you mentioned to me is, I mean, just a difference in opinion. Like, that's something I'm attracted to, and because again, I like the idea of my kids growing up in the same cohorts and not being broken up in classes, and I also just feel like kindergarten through 5th grade, you know, I'm not concerned at my kindergarten and 1st graders right now, and again, you know, that's where I am. I'm not in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th yet, but I'm not concerned that my teacher needs to be, you know, have all those, you know, expertise in different areas. Like, I feel very comfortable at those younger ages of having a great teacher for that one class. And I mean, I'm not going to say that I don't understand what you're saying. It's just, it's a different point of view of you looking at as like, that's the better option. And for me, it's like, I feel like my better option is having my kids at Newbrook kindergarten through 5th. And again, that's what I'm saying. I understand there's, you know, some larger things at play that people are working on, and I am trying to keep that in mind.
Well, and I think this is exactly the kind of conversation both the long-term planning committee and the board was hoping to inspire. Because at the end of the day, the community has to want to do this. But the long-term planning committee really focused on making sure that they had something real, that was tangible, that was able to be reacted to, because we have gone through this twice already, and we went about it in a different way. And so, as Drew said beforehand, if we keep coming at it in the same direction, we're probably going to get similar results. And so, having already done it twice with big global things, we wanted to attack it from a different perspective. So, keep talking, keep asking questions. They're fantastic. And you're right. Everyone has their own personal opinion about how it's going to be best for their family, and then the other half of their brain for the community. And that's we can't change that, right? It's not going to be perfect for everybody. What I'm hoping to do is to support something that's better than what we're currently doing.
I do want to just say one final thing, and I'm going to, because I see that I know there's other people that want to, I want to also share that I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old who are in ESTs, and I'm working with the occupational therapists soon now too, and I have had so many meetings with the support teams, with the counselors. Craig and could definitely speak to that last year. So both at Townsend and at Newbrook, and I just want to share that my experience thus far has been only exceptional, and people setting up those meetings, having time for me. I'm not viewing that as a problem right now, but again, this is. You know, so that's the other piece is like, where are these problems? Like right now, I'm not feeling some of those ones that you're mentioning.
It's fantastic that you are excited about what is currently happening. I think we're just engaged in a process to see if we can do better.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Also, I can't wait to have coffee. Just gonna throw that out there.
All right, Renee, who still hasn't figured out how to hit the button.
All right, Renee.
And then Ann.
Thank you, Bill. I'm sorry. I've definitely used Zoom before, but for some reason I can't find the raise hand button. There were just two. So I heard Lindsay say, so it's going to be K through 4 now at Townsend. Is the plan? Yes. I see nodding. Okay. So my concern, I guess, is, I definitely see both sides of the coin, being a parent and a teacher. I get everything that everybody is saying. My concern is that I know for a fact that Townsend has 9 classrooms, and K through 4 would be 10 classrooms. I know you've done the square footage. I guess I'm just worried that what it will take to change that building to fit all of those people would be just too much money, or just a whole rework of the entire building. Plus, I'm not sure if it's like a historical building, all those parameters around that. So if anyone's seen the closet that I work out of right now, I think you would maybe understand my concern as well. My other point that I just wanted to make was that thinking about further down the line, if this does happen, I have a a son in first grade, say this takes like 2 years, he could potentially go to Townsend for fourth grade and then have to retransition across the street. So just, I would propose that maybe those 1-year transition kids could possibly get the teacher that was at their home school to begin with. So just thinking about different considerations like that.
Then you have Ann, and she's my last hand.
Go ahead, Ann.
Great, hi. I thought both Lindsay and Renee had great questions. I think it just shows the great need for details. So going back to the motion that was on the table, as a board member, I do not see how we could make a decision about this plan without a lot of these details. And I don't see how we could answer the public's important questions about this plan without going into further detail. So really the success of any plan like this is in the details. So I'd very much like to move forward with budget and gathering further information and finding out how this would actually work.
Perfect. Thanks, Ann.
Good segue.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions? No. All right. Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor. We've had our discussion. Is everybody ready to vote?
So the motion is, just to clarify, is to direct them to do the work.
That's it.
That's it.
Flesh out the concept. Yes. Nothing in concrete. Do we have any board members?
Yep, and Howie was on there. Is Howie still there?
Yep.
Yeah,
See him.
there's Howie.
Okay. All right. So two going here. All right. Just have to be cognizant of that. All right. So because of that, we will do a roll call vote. I will start with the folks in our audience. Ann, how do you vote? Thumbs up. Howie?
Thumbs up.
Thank you, Ann. Howie? Okay. All right. One up, one down. And we'll just go around the table here.
Yay.
Yay?
Yay.
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 Ken?
Yay.
Joe?
Yay.
Okay, and yay. All right, so we have,
9-1, and Emily Long is not here.
okay, right. 9-4, one opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Go forth and flesh it out.
And so just, I know we'll do this at the end of the meeting. Then we're going to move our meeting from the 18th to the 25th to allow that time to be able to get that work for you guys. So in case anybody drops off in Zoom,
So
25th.
That's September 25th, right?
October 25th.
Whoa.
October 25th.
We will have additional answers, but not all the answers.
All right, thank you very much, folks. Great question, really appreciate it, and we will certainly hear more of that healthy, lively discussion. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to board chair to sign contracts. I'll entertain a motion to allow me to sign the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Let's move this along.
Any
We're gonna
discussion?
move this along.
Move it along, that's right.
Any discussion? Okay, let's do a roll call again, unfortunately. Ann? She's trying to find a mute. There we are, there we go. All right.
Two thumbs
Two
up.
thumbs up, all right. Go ahead, Leanne?
Yeah. Yes.
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 Sign it.
Unanimous, great, thank you. Sign away.
Financials, Laurie.
All right, financials. Laurie?
All right. Good evening, everybody. Great discussion. So I'm hoping that some financial, a look back at fiscal year 21 will help help with this discussion. So I gave you a couple of different packets of information. The first one was the fiscal year 21. This is, of course, unaudited. Our audits are starting the week after next. So we're in the middle of prepping for them right now. And then I also gave you a first look at fiscal year 22. I'll take any questions that anybody has after, we've had a chance to look at them. And I can answer questions about it. I just want to talk through the summary of fiscal year 21 fund balances, which is the first page. Does everybody have that document?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I basically just put together a summary of all the different funds that West River has currently. And you can see the top one there, the general fund did end with a surplus of $282,000. So where does the surplus come from? So a lot of it had to do with COVID. For example, the subs, there's $64,000 in subs that was not spent. Co-curricular had a surplus of $80,000 even after the ropes course was purchased. So there was quite a bit left there, and then there was some other technology actually had a surplus from Wyndham Central side that was refunded back to West River due to staffing changes. And then the rest of it really is about staffing changes that happened and new employees and the salary and benefits. So you'll see a lot of, if you look through the detail of the fiscal year 21, you'll see, a lot of ins and outs of different programs. But in essence, that is where the surplus came from. You'll see that $69,000 in the CRF LEA grant was spent. That was the first COVID relief funds that came out, and most of that went to PPE and cleaning supplies and just those first expenses that came because of COVID. $204,000 was spent on the HVAC system, and Greg can talk more about some additional work that we would like to get done, but we're waiting to hear from Efficiency Vermont for some more funding for that. Very little has been spent yet in ESSER 2, but that is just starting really with the school year, so we'll see that increase there. The food program, this is an interesting one, because I really thought about halfway through the year that it was going to run a pretty good deficit, but because the federal government changed the way they funded the food program, changed the cost or the revenue that we were getting for each meal, it actually has almost a $30,000 fund balance there. Now, just to caution you, that money has to be spent in the food program. It can't be moved, to reserve fund or back to general fund. It needs to be spent on the food program equipment. It could be, additional food, that type of thing. So just to kind of keep that in mind. The reserve fund at the end of fiscal year 21 had $679,000 in it. Of course, you did put $300,000 for the tax rate buy down, which I'll also include revenues when I project the tax rate for planning.
Nostradamus.
So that will play into the tax rate as well. So between the general fund and the reserve fund, going into fiscal year 22, as we start to look ahead to fiscal year 23 budgeting, the fund balance is going to be somewhere around $662,000. So you've basically added back almost the $300,000. And so I can go through the rest of them. Another one of interest is the capital projects. There is a fund balance there. The biomass system was upgraded, and then if you recall, we I think it was on the regular vote, we put on the ballot to spend the money, any surplus on the water system. So that will be that will be used for that. Does anybody have any questions on the fund balances? Or any detail?
Laurie, on the food program, understanding that it can only be spent on the food program, is there a timeline to that?
No.
No, okay. Great, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Was there-
no, I'm just waiting for questions. Anybody have any questions?
Looks like none. Thanks, Laurie.
Fund balance, good.
Yes, great job, amazing job.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Okay.
Moving right.
Old business. Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we were gonna move.
I forgot to do that.
That's okay.
Let's move it though.
Yeah, can we move request for proposal up to the top?
Yep.
Any
Craigie
objection?
boy. So we're gonna start with E. At the last board meeting, the board directed me to work on this request for proposal. Right after that request, I got a text from Mr. Roach saying that he was very excited about this possibility. Could he be tasked with that? And so I tasked him. And he did a fine job. So Craig, could you just kind of flesh out what you've produced here for us, buddy?
Sure, yeah, thanks for that setup. For those of you who have been through the Townsend school system in my tenure, after-school programs and providing opportunities for kids have been really important for me. So knowing that the board was looking for additional opportunities for students to be in a safe place, to get additional programs, it was something that I definitely wanted to jump on and try to help with, right? If I can provide a system, or we can provide a system for families in the River Valley to get extended care, I wanted to get in on that. So what I did was pretty simple, is I came from the Brattleboro district, so Wyndham Southeast, and they have a program where they actually partner with the YMCA down in Brattleboro. It's called the Aspire program. So I reached out to the YMCA and looked at their website, which is very comprehensive. So if you guys have any more questions about how it would look, if you haven't been down there, check out the YMCA page. But this was just simply what I thought would be an appropriate RFP, which is a request for proposal, on how to get before care and after care with programs, with staff development, and proper care and licensing. And I just kind of put it together what I thought it would look like. There's some parts down below, the last 3 sections, where we would have to work out if we want to move forward. But basically, it kind of looks like this. We needed care, we wanted to provide more opportunities for our kids. That's kind of our introduction in our project. And we looked for a partner that would engage students from the immediate bell until 6 o'clock in the afternoon in some sort of care or programs. That partner would have to make sure that any of their employees are safe. They would have to go through licensing. They would have a partnership with insurance with us. But they would be able to use our facilities, our building, some materials at their just have hands-on with that stuff. And we would just provide the building and electricity and some resources for them to come use. They would just come on in. So it would be a separate entity. For us, for West River, what that really means for us is to just make sure that the programs are appropriate. We would have a liaison between the partnership, I use the word partnership program, and us, so the schools would know what was going on. They can consult, they could run things by us, we could do promotional stuff. They would be connected on the school level. So while it is an outside agency, they'd be connected to things like school calendars, professional development, if it was appropriate. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of all there. It's pretty comprehensive. And I can answer any questions if anybody has any questions about that. But really, we give you the building, we give you the space, we give you some stuff, and somebody else run it. And that includes, which I didn't include before, was before care, because that's often tough too, and on professional development days and also vacations.
So what I would love for the board to be okay is for Craig to flesh this out a little bit more of how it would work with our existing after-school programs, come back to you all and just say, this is kind of what we would like to put out into the public asking for an RFP. This wouldn't be starting this year, this would be getting a partner in place so that possibly in a whole new structure, we could also have something like this. So I wanted Craig to share this all with you, but I think we need to think through the different possibilities of how that could work with our existing after-school world. Bring that back, but we wanted to get on this because imagine we're going to know our structure when we do our budget, and we want to find a partner that is going to be up, ready to go when school kicks off next year. Is that, so I'm just looking for you guys, you don't have to make a motion.
Do it.
Just for us to continue working on this, to kind of think through those challenges, those opportunities.
Yes.
So that we are ready to go when a structure is decided in March, we're not doing this then.
Are we also gonna look to see if we could maybe arrange district staff and offer that same thing for cheaper? You know, like, if a company can do it at a profit, maybe we can offer it internally for the same or less.
Those are the kinds of questions that we would want to.
Yeah, that's a question that I would have.
Okay.
This is before and after, right? Okay.
Thank you, Craig.
Great, thank you so much, Craig.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I wish I was done there, guys. I wish I was done. So, yes, I will do whatever you guys need me to do, and I'll continue to go and flesh this out to get you all the specifics that you need. Mike just kind of touched on it a little bit, which is our laughter program, and I'm just looking through the Townsend lens. The laughter program is pretty big, and it's thriving. So, as Bill sort of pointed out too, is like, how would that work in conjunction with the laughter program? And I just want to give you some quick statistics and just some numbers. Last year, as we were still in a pandemic, we had just over 50% of our students engage in laughter programs, and that was for free. So we know that kids, when they're engaged in programs and they have certain interests, they're going to do better at school. They're going to be engaged in their community. And again, it's free. We have a laughter program that's set up to pay volunteers and teachers to provide that content. With this, there's a couple of options, right? So Aspire in the Brattleboro district does cost money. However, they won't turn anybody down if they don't have the monies to do that. They also, and I put it in the RFP, is to give people access to scholarships to access Aspire. So we want to try to think about it, and again, Mike kind of touched on that, is can we do it for free? Is it a for-profit? Can our families even afford to pay additionally extra? So my thoughts is, if we have half of Townsend, just over half of Townsend families engaging in a laughter program, how many more people would we possibly get from extending our time from 4:30 to 6? So just some considerations. Maybe it's about expanding our laughter programs as well. So how do we do that? So we're looking for care, we're looking for people to provide programs. We already have something in place, but I will do exactly what you guys want me to do and answer all these questions.
What? I think we're going to flesh it all out, buddy. That's why we're doing it now, so that we have 5-6 months to kind of look at in-house option, RFP option. Is there a hybrid option?
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I'm speaking up for my laughter programs. I enjoy doing them.
Absolutely, sir.
Thanks,
Okay.
Craig.
Moving on.
All right, moving on to approval minutes of August 16th.
So
and
moved.
August 30th. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Seeing
Yes.
none. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my name was spelled wrong in the August 30th minutes.
Ooh.
Got it, Ann.
All right. we'll
Thank
have
you.
it Corrected.
August 30th. Okay.
Okay. All right. Any discussion on the minutes from the board?
You have a hand
Nope.
up, I don't know if that's.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Aaron. Aaron, if you can hear me, go ahead.
Hi, I just had a question about the correspondence that I sent in. I missed that part of the meeting. I was having technical difficulties, so I wanted to be polite and wait till the end.
Yes, we received your correspondence. Thank you.
And you're gonna share it with the rest of the board.
Now, yes.
Yeah, I guess we
Indeed.
can share it with the rest of the board now.
I think we got the thumbs up. All right. Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, let's move to a vote. We'll start with you, Ann. With the amendment, right? Thank you. Howie?
Aye.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Yep.
All right. All in favor, motion carries unanimously. Principals reports. Any questions on? Yeah. I do have to say, you guys are amazing on those principals reports. Extremely, extremely thorough. Did anybody on the board have any questions? Did any of the principals want to speak to it?
Anything you care to highlight? No.
No?
Good phrasing.
No.
Very
Moving
good.
on.
Yes. Great start to the year. Appreciate it. Doing a great job. Superintendent report.
Just a reminder, on September 29th, all voting members of West River, we have a WCSU meeting. You'll have an opportunity to share what's going on in the other districts. I have been requested in the superintendent evaluation to provide some global SU goals. I'll be doing that. It'll be hybrid, but pretty business and pro forma, but we want to make sure that the 6 West River voting members either attend on Zoom, or if you come, you get fed.
When is this one?
This is on the 29th at the Colonel Williams.
Of September.
Yes.
Right.
9 days.
I'll be on a plane.
Ah. We'll miss
Are you a voting member?
I am.
Can you appoint an alternate?
You can. That's why I'm speaking up.
Exactly.
Well, and Emily won't be there either, right? Didn't she?
That is correct.
Yeah, we need to
So,
appoint 2 alternates.
we have Howie on the, he's there, so we should appoint 2 alternates, guys.
Okay.
I should be able to be there.
Howie will be there.
All right, Howie will be there. Al,
Who would, yep. Who is
I'll
the-
be there.
Mike,
What day of the week? Yeah, all right.
Wednesday.
You'll be there.
It's a
Wednesday.
So yeah, two people.
Okay.
You'll be there.
Anybody wanna?
Anybody want to go for?
Yeah, I would,
Well,
I would like to look for 2 volunteers.
Drew, is that a hand up?
Do I?
Bill,
I'm looking at my wife to see. if
I'm not a voting member, I'm the policy member,
Okay.
right? But I'm not a real member of the SU board, so I'll be one of the alternates? Is
Yeah,
that-
you're on the 6.
You're on
Am
the
I?
6?
Oh.
Because you're the policy guy, that's how we made you one of the 6.
I missed that
All right.
meeting.
Yeah.
Drew is saying he would like to be an alternate.
I was at that meeting.
Who else would like to be an alternate?
Anybody else want to be an alternate? Speak up now.
They're all looking at their phones. All right. That's a good sign.
What time is the meeting?
It'll be at 6 o'clock, gathering at 5, but the meeting begins at 6.
Probably could.
And you can attend virtually too,
You can
right?
attend virtually.
And you want to get your feet wet?
Sure.
Okay, so I'd like to nominate as alternates Ann and Drew.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Drew.
All right. All those in favor? Let's start with you, Ann. right,
Hold on,
thank you.
we got a
Howie?
Aye.
All right, Mia?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All right, me as well. All in favor? Now, that does not mean if you're not a voting member that you cannot attend.
Of course, you can come.
So, anybody can attend. And I would
You just now
recommend
have
it,
the power
actually.
to vote.
All right,
Yeah, it's a fun
so, approve the financials.
I'll make a motion to approve the financials as presented by Laurie.
Second?
Oh,
All right,
I'll steal it
any
from you.
discussion? Seeing none, moving on to a vote. Go ahead, Ann. Howie?
Aye.
Yes. Yes.
yes.
Yes.
Aye. Aye.
You guys are all ready now, all right.
We're warmed
Motion
up.
carries unanimously, thank you. Moving on to.
Policy.
Policy,
You're
C5
on.
weapons firearms adopted discussion. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, it's been warned to be adopted at this meeting, so
So move to adopt.
I move to adopt it.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, moving on to a vote. Ann? Howie?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
It's
Motion
almost
carries.
affirmative.
It's like a song.
It'd be a terrible song. I now see
The
that.
next meeting, the 25th?
Yep.
Yes, next meeting October 25th.
Aye.
He just does it now, aye.
I'd like to make one final motion.
All right,
I'd like to move to adjourn.
Second.